winner will meet Randy Lightfoot. And the winner of that match will go against Mark Ross. And then into the final game against the tournament leader, Larry Lau. Ooh, another high hit. This one on the right lane, leaving the 6-7.
6-7, Terahan not giving the ball any room at all. You could see the trajectory straight down and hoping that the ball would set in the pocket, but it broke a little bit at the back end. 6-7 is makeable, but still a tough shot. In this point in the match, you have to go for it.
Tim thought he had a great chance at it. Wide to the right, so now each bowler has an open frame, and it's Harahan that trails by 1 pin. And on the left lane, we get a big high hit.
Well, almost all bowlers, Chris, when they have a tendency to go high, it's usually when they're a little nervous, they start pulling the ball. Now, from this angle, you can see, now watch his swing will bump out away from his body a little bit as it comes through. Now, he's coming through, and he comes right across, pulling the ball just slightly inside the second arrow. His trajectory is the second arrow.
All right, it's a spare for Harahan coming in the 4th frame. This is our first head-to-head game. We'll be back with more of it, but first, this message.
Who's got the best darn burger in the whole wide world? Burger King and I. Who's got a juicy flame broiled burger that's never fried? A hot, fresh burger, yeah, it's Burger King and I. Burger King and I.
For 100% beef burgers fixed one at a time, taste.
Who's got the best darn burger in the whole wide world? Burger King and I.
Turn on, America, to a tough way to go trucking. Introducing the 78 Ford Courier with the biggest optional engine in its class and other hot options like a 7-foot bed, a super freewheeling package, and the best gas mileage ratings of the Ford top-selling compacts. 38 miles per gallon highway, 29 city, with standard engine and manual transmission. What's a tough way to go trucking?
Next on ABC's Wide World of Sports, live, a classic clash of fiery proportions. The Demon Deacons of Wake Forest battle the Duke Blue Devils for the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship, traditionally college basketball's strongest division. The ACC sends the winner of this game to the NCAA playoffs with a good shot at the national title. Plus a stable of fast 3-year-olds running the Flamingo Stakes, the first major step to the Kentucky Derby. Pure thoroughbred action, all next on ABC.
Nelson, what a great afternoon of sports coverage here on ABC, and I'm glad we can start it off for all of our viewers.
Well, they have the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship game, Chris, and the Hialeah race.
Flamingo Stakes. Here's a winner, Marshall Holman. Oh, he reacts, and rightfully so, because it's a very important double, which puts him on top by 11 pins.
You know, Chris, before we went on the air, I asked Marshall if he had any premonitions about leaving another 4-6 as he did last year.
Yeah, well, last year, I did make a bad shot in a critical situation, but I was leading the tournament. Maybe I was a little nervous being in the #1 spot. This year, coming from number 5 position, I've got nothing to lose. I've got everything to gain, and I'll be nice and loose today.
Winner of the Ford Open this year, Holman, going for a 3-bagger. Leaving the 6-10.
Chris, as we said at the top of the telecast, the scores are not going to be big. These lanes are almost equally oiled gutter to gutter, and there is no hold area, there's no big swing area. You have to hit your spot and throw it well. The man who just missed the top 5, Jay Robinson, 6th spot.
And Jay got a check for $4,050, finishing 6th in this $150,000 tournament. Money breakdown today, $30,000 to the winner, $17,000 second, $10,000 third, $7,500 fourth, and the loser of this first head-to-head match will get $5,000. 9 pins. Harahan about to shoot, trailing by that number.
And that's what Harahan has to do, speed it up. he went a little more head belly, gave the ball a little room, because he throws a pretty nice size hook. You have to give it room. But then he went with a more loft and more speed, make that ball set right in the pocket. Trailing by 9, he can take the lead.
Last time we saw Tim on our telecast, a series that began 17 years ago, it was in 1976 in the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Ooh. Describe that one, Bo.
The players on the tour call it Big Tonk, the 4-6-7-10. And Tim's looking down. He thought he threw the ball pretty well, but he's looking down for an adjustment where he should make on the approach. Now look, he threw this ball out, had a little extra speed, but watch the sharp break. Right there, it takes a sharp snap, cutting right through. And the Big Tonk is just going for 2. Save the pin count.
So it's the second open frame for Tim Harahan. 23-pin lead for the man in the blue shirt getting up ready to stroke. He has a spare working. He's shooting in the 6th frame.
Holman should be loosened up by now. 6 frames, 23-pin lead. The long approach. Three, 6.
Right.
Cutting through, Chris. Once again, the players can't keep the ball under control. I'll tell you what. We watched what we call the big crankers on the tour, Holman or Roth. But when lanes get too slick, I mean not too slick, but very slick, it favors the line ball player. And these players are big hook ball bowlers. If they give it a lot of room, it won't come back. And when they point it straight down, it always hooks high.
And an idea of the power and speed of Holman as he covered that 3-6 spare, leading by 21 pins. He is loose.
The lane that favors Holman's style should be the left lane. He likes the lanes to be hooking a little more so he can send that big hook out wide and bring it in light and scatter the pins around. He does not like to go direct down the boards like he does on the right-hand lane.
Leaving the 10 on the left lane, Holman.
A little confused, but he's out of time. As we saw from that different camera angle shot, his elbow went away from his body as he came through. You must follow through towards your target. You can't direct it with your hand. Once that elbow gets away from the body, you lose control of the ball and you get a pull.
Marshall Holman marking with a spare coming in his 7th frame. We'll be back for more action after this.
Inside this new Firestone radial tire is an improved steel cord with 5 million miles of developmental testing. Where once we used 5 strands, we now use 10 strands of steel. 7 around 2, wrapped by 1. A cord construction so important, Firestone named the tire for it. 7, 2, 1. The new steel-belted radial 721. Now, from Firestone.
Up here, the wind can turn an entire ski slope into one big snowdrift. But you're going to take the mountain away from the storm and give it back to the skiers. Now comes Miller time. Time to head for the best-tasting beer you can find. America's quality beer, Miller High Life.
If you got the time, if you got the time, we got the beer, Miller beer.
We're at the midpoint of our first game and our 9th stop. In the 17th year of the Professional Bowlers Tour, Tim Harahan is down by 20 pins. He had an open in the 6th frame, 92 through the 6th, shooting in the 7th. A 7, and in this large crowd, way down to the bowler's left, they really can't see that the 7-pin remains standing.
Now you see Marshall Holman, how much of the approach he uses. Now he uses that to generate a lot of speed on the ball, the full length. And Tim Harahan, who's up there bowling. Now look at how close he is, right at that first row of dots, which is only 12 feet from the foul line. Although they both take similar approaches, Harahan is much more slow, and he takes a methodical approach. Whatever style fits you, stick with it. The basics are the good straight arm swing and playing the lanes.
Thus far this year, Tim has earned $1,710. Least he can earn here today is $5,000. So it's a strike for Harahan of Hawthorne, California in the 8th frame. A 10.
A weak 10. Holman has made the correction for himself. He's been hitting the nose, going high, has moved in on the approach, more towards the center, giving the ball a lot of room, letting it break back. He knows his percentage is light. He'd rather be shooting at the 2.45 than at the 4.6. On the other hand, Harahan will have to make a different type of adjustment. Now, that is Holman's third 10-pin. And, you know, one thing you can watch with a power player like Holman is that he throws so hard cross lane to cut that hook down.
Nelson, of course, will be back this week with the Professional Bowler's Tip of the Week. It's on parallel lines, accuracy.
Well, Chris,
we'll all learn something from it.
That's the old theory. If your body is going the proper position and you walk in the proper line, you keep your swing close to your body, the ball will go where you want it to. The principle comes in basically on spares, even on important on strikes.
Marshall unhappy with leaving the 6 on the left lane.
Unhappy and confused. Although he's clinging to a 18-pin lead right now, it is very tenuous because when you're throwing the ball wide like that and all over the lane, anything can happen. You get a few bad breaks, a few splits. Harahan can really put some pressure on Holman right now with a couple of strikes.
This is the first match. The winner will go against 20-year-old Randy Lightfoot. And then Mark Roth, and then the tournament leader, Larry Laub. The pins falling when our 2 finalists are not up shooting. That's Lightfoot warming up, waiting to meet the winner of this first game.
This is the key shot for Tim Harahan all week, trailing by 18, strike up in the 8th, could use that double in the 9th. Unbelievable. That is a real solid 10. That pin was half over and just stood up. What a bad break. Similar to Ron Lisher last week when he could have put the pressure on Lobb at the DMF Classic, left a solid 8. Harahan, solid 10.
And it is just about settled down now. All right. That's a 9th frame spare for Harahan. 18 pins separating the 2.
The situation coming up with Harahan's 10th frame, he needs a strike in the 10th and 11th to force Marshall Holman to mark. The best Harahan can roll is 182. That would force Marshall Holman to get a mark in the 10th.
All right.
To show you how important that solid 10 was, that right now Tim Harahan would be leading this game if he had carried that 10-pin. That 10-pin was a 20-pin difference. The situation now is Harahan needs one more strike right here to force Holman to mark in the 10th.
And gets it.
What an unbelievable break. Do you know that if Tim Harahan gets 9 or better on this ball, if he had carried that 10-pin, he would have won the match, the breaks in the game of bowling. He can still win if Holman does not mark, though. And as wild as Holman's been, he better really charge up for this one shot in the 10th.
So Tim Harahan is finished with a 182. Here in the richest of all PBA tournaments, $30,000.
Holman needs to count 13 in the 10th. That means at least any count on the first ball and a spare. Needs a mark, strike or spare to win.
And he did it the right way.
The mark of a
Marshall
true
Holman.
champion.
He'll be tough now.
Yes,
Boy,
I think so. The amazing thing, though, is he's been struggling the whole match, but when you really need one, there's only one. There is no safe shot. Solid in the 1-3 is the safest place in the lane.
leaving the 7 on the right lane and just waiting to move in to Bo in the second game against this man is Randy Lightfoot. So it's a 190 for Holman to Harahan's 182. Second game coming up.
You are about to see 3 strikes made the hard way with a different kind of bowling ball, the AMF Impact KE21. So much pin-punishing power. It's almost unfair.
One place said 3 days, another a week. It's my honeymoon. Does anyone deliver parts overnight?
Where do I get parts for my import? Where else?
Improvement's my business. So when this needs work, I get lots of parts better than the original. Guess where?
Who should you see for your auto parts needs? Napa. We help keep America moving.
Monday, a beautiful secret agent heats up the Cold War for the $6 million man.
The Pacific Northwest. Olympia beer was born out here back in 1896. A special place where perfect brewing ingredients were brought together with a certain kind of man who came for the gold and the logging and stayed for the living.
Olympia could happen just once in a world.
Come taste Olympia's world.
Malibu Grand Prix lets you race Formula cars. Experience Formula racing at its best. You race against the clock. Everything is here. You race our Formula cars. Malibu Grand Prix.
Open every day.
Complete storm update at 7.
On the Pro Bowlers Tour, the first match has ended. 8-pin win for Marshall Holman over Tim Harahan, earning the right now to meet 20-year-old Randy Lightfoot. Randy from St. Charles, Missouri. There's a handshake, and now they go after it. And, Bo, the scores are a little low.
Well, Chris, it's match play style. I'll tell you what, for the big golf tournaments, it doesn't take much to win, maybe even par or 1 under. The big bowling tournaments, very similar. We make the lanes a little tougher. Remember, the Professional Bowlers Association, it has control of lane maintenance. They can make them a little tougher or a little easier. For the big tournaments, they're making them tough. The 5-9, I thought that Holman would have settled down, but he can't control his ball. It's hooking early.
$150,000, the total prize money. But just here today on our live telecast, look at it. 30 for first, 17 for second, 10 for third. $7,500 to the loser of this game, which has just started. Tim Harahan took the $5,000 check. So it's a spare for Marshall Holman. Now, 20-year-old, 5'9" Randy Lightfoot. No PBA titles. Big afternoon for this young man. Living a 10 on the right lane.
I'll tell you, Chris, he's almost an unknown quantity to some of these other players, but I've known this boy for about 6 or 7 years. He's doesn't say much with his mouth, but I'll tell you, he lets his bowling ball do his talking. He's going to be tough out there. He's got a good, solid game, solid swing, and he's been working on his deep knee bend. He's getting a little lower at the line. He has a tendency to pull up a little bit, but that's much better than he has been. He's going to keep that ball perfect.
Randy Lightfoot marking with a spare in the first frame. The young man that holds the distinction of being the youngest amateur ever to qualify for our nationally televised finals when he finished 5th 2 years ago in your home, Bo,
At the
St.
Royal
Louis.
Aids Open in St. Louis, he unbelievably lost to Tim Harahan, who was just knocked out by Holman. And he lost in a really bad break, a solid 7 when he needed it in the clutch.
Got a break on the left lane. Strike in the second frame. Randy Lightfoot. Let's watch it again.
Here's the power of this young man. He'll just tear the rack apart with this shot. And watch the good leverage, how close his arm is by just missing his left foot. See how that elbow went straight through the target? He's playing a little deeper line. See the ball just a little short of the third arrow? Everybody else is out around the second arrow. Maybe Lightfoot, although he's 20, less experienced, maybe knows a little something extra about this pair of lanes. And that could be the difference. I'll tell you, Holman has his hands full with this young man.
Holman second behind Mark Roth on the money list, having won around 30,000. And a strike for Marshall in the second frame. 22 the first.
Well, the key for Marshall even sticking around past this game, Chris, is he has to hit the left-hand lane. He's been all over, missed the head pin. He's been on the Berardi side or the Brooklyn side, whichever side you want to call it. He has to keep the ball in play. And sooner or later, if he doesn't make the proper adjustments, he's going to start getting some opens and some splits. So right now, look, he's studying the approach now. He's going to move further left. He's looking down at the dots, the boards he wants to count. This is an important shot to him, only so the adjustment works.
3-6-10.
Not enough. The old saying, trust is a must or your game is a bust. Marshall is not trusting the ball. He's throwing the big hook, but see, it's not very wide. That was on about the 12th or 13th board down the lane. The pocket is the 18th board. The nose right there is the 20th board. You have to avoid that.
Oh.
And as we said, you flirt with the nose and get enough trouble, he'd dig his own ditch right there.
46 through the third for Holman. 14-pin lead by 20-year-old Lightfoot.
Holman chopping the three straight off. Tell you what, Randy Lightfoot, I'll be surprised if he doesn't really put it to Holman right now.
A double for Lightfoot.
As the players on the Pro Bowlers Tour say, justice. Solid 10 in the first frame, should have gone. This time he threw the ball a little high, got the great break, the old nosedive. Now in a commanding lead, 24 pins, can extend it to 34. Mr. and Mrs. Carl Lightfoot on the right. Carl, great man.
Oh, it's a three-bagger for the Lightfoot son, Randy. We'll have more of this second game as he leads by 34 pins.
Take me away, lover. I'm yours. I don't go with married women. What are you doing? You like Granada? Granada? This is my Mercedes. Hold tight. Didn't get into my Cadillac.
Cadillac, that's the Granada.
Alone at last, beloved.
Beloved?
Where's my bride?
You got that Mercedes with another man.
Another man?
The new Ford Granada. One way to tell it from Cadillac and Mercedes is its sticker price. Test drive Granada at your Ford dealer, where the better ideas keep coming.
Who's got the best darn burger in the whole wide world? Burger King and I. Who's got the best darn burger in the whole wide world? Burger King and I.
For 100% beef burgers, flame broiled, never fried, fixed one at a time, taste.
Who's got the best darn burger in the whole wide world? Burger King and I.
Next, Duke University clashes with Wake Forest for the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship live on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Later today, this forward on the Wake Forest basketball team in the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship game, Rod Griffin, who was the Atlantic Coast Conference Player of the Year last year. A lot is expected of him. And the matchup against Gene Banks, a freshman of Duke, native of Philadelphia. Freshman versus a senior in that big game live here on ABC later. All right, now Holman gets his second strike. The winner of this game will meet Mark Roth, leading money winner.
Holman has to start putting a little pressure on Lightfoot. Trailing by 34, he's up on the lane. He has really struggled on. Definitely a key shot, even though it's early in the match. Remember, this is match play competition. You can't get too far behind when you can't string the strikes. Scores are not going to be big. It's very competitive.
And a double for Holman, who won the first game if you just joined us, 190 to 182 over Tim Harahan.
Not only a double, but it's a very key shot, and that Holman is now zeroed in on the left-hand lane, has cut the lead to 24 pins, but more importantly, he overpowers the pins, and now he is back in the match. He has the confidence that he can hit both lanes. He'll have the confidence he can give Lightfoot a tough match.
Going for 4 in a row. He's made it. Well, that's answering a challenge by this 20-year-old from St. Charles, Missouri.
Chris, almost all the players, a lot of the press last night thought that Randy Lightfoot would go in the tank on national television. I said, watch out for this kid. He is tough, and right now he's proven it. Give him an inch, he'll take a 4-bagger.
Shooting in the 6th frame. Now he has 5 in a row. And there's Carl, his dad, who sustained a heart attack, has made the recovery and travels with his son, Randy.
12 months ago, almost to the day, Carl had a severe heart attack, spent 2 weeks in intensive care in the hospital, says he's fully recovered. I asked him if he'd get too excited today. He says, I'm proud of my son, I'm proud of what he's doing, and I just hope he does well.
Now with a double-up Holman. A 10 on the right.
Marshall Holman a little pensive on that shot. That double that Lightfoot threw right at him kind of took the wind out of Holman's sails, and Marshall didn't catch all this, didn't have the adrenaline flowing like he usually does. The weak 10, 6-pin laying right in the channel, not kicking out the 10.
For Marshall Holman, that's a spare in the 6th frame, 95 through the 5th, and 45 pins separating these two professionals. Holman is down.
Here's the thing that's got to be going through Marshall's mind. He knows the scores are tough. He might figure that Lightfoot is going to come off the string of strikes pretty soon and get an open. Holman's got to figure he got to shoot around 220 to stay in the match. That means he has to string a 4-bagger somewhere in these next 4 frames. He's got 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. He has to get started right now.
You saw Lightfoot seated, sort of had his head down as if not to watch his opponent, but the last minute he did, and saw Holman striking in the 7th frame. We'll be back.
Here's to good friends. Tonight is kind of special.
Hello, Counselor.
Hi, Dad.
I heard a rumor you finally passed the bar exam.
Yes.
Congratulations. Frank?
Frank will have the prime ribs and a couple of Lowenbrow.
Prime ribs? Lowenbrow? What are you doing?
Buying dinner for the guy who put me through law school.
When you want the taste of a truly great beer, tonight, let it be Lowenbrow.
It's the good friends.
Let it be Lowenbrow.
Good friends.
I got Midas-sized in 19 minutes, 32 seconds. A new world's record.
I got Midas-sized in 27 minutes flat. So why'd I bother to get out of the car?
Midas can usually Midas-size your car in 30 minutes or less. And if anything ever goes wrong, we'll replace the muffler free for as long as you own your American-made car. In a hurry, come to Midas.
Time sure flies when you Midas-size.
Ready? Continuation now of our second head-to-head competition as 5 of our bowlers started here on our live telecast shooting for the $30,000 first prize. Here's the 20-year-old looking for his first PBA win, leading by 45 pins, has strung together 5 in a row. Sliding by. Look out. 210.
Chris, as I said before, it's tough to string strikes. Opens are easy to come by. Although he's trailing by 45 with a combination of an open here, maybe by Lightfoot, with a difficult 2-10 split, and Holman striking in the 8th and 9th, the match will be right back and close again.
What a conversion. Beautifully done. 210.
I'll tell you, that pumps up Randy Lightfoot, but more importantly, it takes the wind out of the sails of Marshall Holman. Cross lane, right around the 3rd arrow, sliding it over. Perfect shot. Absolutely perfect. He can close the door here with a strike.
He left the 610 on the left lane here at Don Carter's Kendall Lanes.
Cross lane, he has to go a little more speed. Here's some of the other top 24 finishers. Jay Robinson, the alternate. Dale Glenn, the Eagle, back in there. Earl taking a pay cut this week. Mickey Hyam from Kansas City. Rick Manier, who led the qualifier, and Louis Moore stroking well. Cross lane, extra speed.
Well done. And Mom, a sigh of relief.
Gil Slicker bowling well finally. Lefty Paul Mosier. Les Sykes, one of the great amateurs on the tour. Paul Caldwell, Roger Tramp, Bill Straub. Roger Tramp made the finals 4 out of the last 6. Jimmy Certain stroking very well this week. Bill Spigner and Steve Neff breaking out of a slump.
Six, 7, 10 for Marshall Holman.
Bobby Fenton stroking well. He's due to win. Cliff McNeely, the big hooker, right in there, $1,500. Joe Berardi, Kansas City finalist in our statistician today, and Larry Gray, who made the finals in the Light Classic. Marshall, I think, is about ready for the showers, Chris. The best he can roll is 203. Lightfoot just has to stay in the building to beat that.
And the winner of this game will meet Mark Roth. Some assignment. Roth is already warmed up, just waiting. Strike in the ninth. Holman, who won the first game over Tim Harahan, 190 to 182.
Lightfoot a possible 256.
A beautiful job by this 20-year-old St. Charles, Missourian.
Here's the footwork of Randy Lightfoot. Ideal heel toe. The one little problem Randy has is watch his left foot as he slides the foul line. Sometimes he turns a little sideways too much. Now that time he was almost perpendicular with the foul line and just the right angle.
So with another strike, Randy Lightfoot has won his first game and very, very soon will be meeting the great Mark Roth, leading money winner, bowler of the year. That'll be some match coming up after this.
Who's got the only Whopper in the whole wide world? Burger King and I. There's nothing like the Whopper. It's flame broiled through and through. Crisp onions, lettuce, mayonnaise. Sliced tomatoes, too. Fixed fresh and hot for you.
There's only one Whopper, the Whopper at Burger King.
Who's got the only Whopper in the whole wide world? Yeah. Burger King and I.
Firestone, Superstone, sweepstakes.
Last night when I was making the scene, reading my favorite Hot Rod magazine, how Firestone was giving away free 3 Fords that are something to see. The #1 van machine.
Ooh, supreme!
A 4x4 that's really more. A mini pickup.
It makes my heart go giddy up.
30 little machines, what a scene.
All you gotta do to enter is run to Firestone's Tire Centers.
Firestone, Superstone, sweepstakes.
Okay, we have a 242 to 188. Yes, sirree. That is the story here at Don Carter's beautiful Kendall Lanes, the west side of Miami, Florida. So now with Lightfoot, the 20-year-old, winning his first game and his first attempt here this afternoon, it means that he'll go against Mark Roth, who has been out 3 times on television and has won 3 championships on the PBA Tour. We mentioned earlier that our colleague Nelson Burton Jr., as he does each week, will bring you a professional bowling tip of the week, this time on parallel lines or accuracy when approaching that line. So here's a tip that we hope helps your game. I truly believe it will. So let's join Nelson on the approach right now.
Today's tip deals with accuracy. Look at these 2 parallel lines that we placed on the lane. The first one represents the line that I'm going to walk and extends straight to my target, in this case, the 10-pin. The second line represents my arm swing and the trajectory of the ball. Starting on the left side of the approach and facing the target pin, you will notice that on the release of my ball, that my left foot and arm swing are parallel, thereby creating the desired trajectory of the ball and pinpoint accuracy. Think straight, walk straight, follow through straight, and you may never miss another spare.
Thank you, Bello. So our second game was won by Randy Lightfoot, 242 to 188. And in the first match, Marshall Holman, 8-pin victory over Tim Harahan, 190 to 182, and the fans are ready. Mark Roth will watch Randy Lightfoot shoot first in our semi-final game. Incidentally, Marshall Holman picked up a check for $7,500. Loser of this game will get $10,000. Oh, yes.
Lightfoot, absolutely perfect today, Chris, but he's really going to get his baptism of fire. Mark Roth has not lost a game on national television in 1978, and he told me he's determined not to lose any of them.
So here he is, 11 titles, 3 here in 1978. Mark Roth. Nope, not quite. Leaving the 2-pin.
The big gun himself. You check this powerful style. Notice the high backswing that Mark has. It's unbelievable. Actually, even getting higher as he gets more relaxed, more money in the bank, his swing gets higher, but notice how deep the knee bend is. He's down there like about a 5'2" guy, and the tremendous crank.
Spare for Mark Roth. First frame of our semifinal game, and the winner of this match goes into the finals where they'll be bowling for $47,000. 30 to the winner, 17 to the runner-up. Tournament leader is Larry Laub. Ten-pin, left lane.
Ringing 10, and notice the different trajectory that Mark Roth is playing as the other players. He's almost down the center of the lane. Now watch this from this unique camera shot. Right between the 3rd and 4th arrow. Watch him on the lane. Mark on the left side, almost like somebody shoots a 10-pin. Remember, there's the ball just between the 3rd and 4th arrow. It's unbelievable how slick these lanes are and how deep he can play.
Oh,
Mark
missing.
didn't see the tip of the week, I don't think, Chris.
No, he really didn't. Look at that face. So for Mark Roth, it is an open frame.
That's a mental error. He was just overcharged. Wanted to be aggressive, and I tell you what, he wanted to bowl a little fast against Lightfoot to make him speed up. Part of the psychology of match play. He just missed a spare.
So right up there with a booming double, jumping out to a 22-pin lead is our 20-year-old non-winner, Randy Lightfoot.
A discouraged Roth. He wanted to get the first blow in, and Lightfoot has already jumped all over him. Got him 22 pins in the hole and could make it 32 before Roth even bowls the 3rd frame.
Oh, but the 7.
The old wall shot, the friend of most of the players, did not quite get it. The head pin's got to go to the sideboard and take out the 4, 5, and 7. It just slid by the 7, got the 4, 5. Should be a routine spare, but you can never give anything for granted on national television. Little extra speed, straight across the 3rd arrow and down the lane.
All right, it's a spare for Lightfoot after opening with a double. Here's a basketball score. The nation's #1 team, Kentucky, defeating University of Nevada, Las Vegas, 92 to 70. And later today, live right here on ABC from Greensboro, the championship game in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Duke and Wake Forest as Roth hits with a beauty. Powerful strike in the 3rd frame.
Show the importance of making your spares or even carrying strikes. Roth, a solid 10 in the 2nd frame, and then goes ahead and blows it. Is now trailing by 21. If he had carried that strike, I know ifs sound a little ridiculous sometimes, but if he'd carried it, he'd have been leading the match.
Lofting it way out on the lane and getting his double. Mark Roth. Match gets closer now, only 11 pins separating the two.
Zonk, if you want a date, get in shape.
Shape? I'm solid steel.
Chic shape, Zonk. Chic shape.
Get clean, get close, get comfort too. Get your face in chic shape.
Click in Chic Super 2, the only twin blades Teflon coated for incredibly comfortable close shaves.
Great shape, Zonk.
That's chic shape.
That's Super 2.
What are more people doing to help their cars last? Protecting them better than ever with Quaker State Motor Oil. Regular use of Quaker State helps avoid expensive engine repairs, helps cars last. Refined from Pennsylvania-grade crude oil, Quaker State helps cars last. Maybe that's why Quaker State's the best-selling motor oil in America. Quaker State helps cars last.
The first major race for 3-year-olds on their road to the Kentucky Derby, the Flamingo Stakes on ABC's Wide World of Sports next.
That's right. At halftime, during our live coverage of the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship game, Duke-Wake Forest, first major race on the road to the Kentucky Derby, the Flamingo Stakes. Number 1, Alydar. Calumet Farm with an entry, 1A, Huggable Tom, 6-5. But believe it, and they break side by side at nearby Hialeah here in Florida. That's the Flamingo Stakes. Al Michaels and our pal Eddie Arcaro will be covering that. Don't miss it. So with a spare up, Lightfoot, a strike coming in the 4th frame as we join Bo Burton.
Chris, with me is Larry Law, the tournament leader, and 30,000 seems to be affecting everybody but Lightfoot. But what's it going to do to our tournament leader, Larry Law? 30 grand going to make you apple up, Larry?
Well, I don't even want to think about the 30 grand. I just want to go out there and bowl and do the best I can and hopefully win it.
What's the most you've won in one day?
8,000 is the biggest check I ever got. So second's pretty good, but I'm going for first.
Well, you seem to be pretty loose. So, you know, I talked to your wife last night, and she was kind of crying. Is the pressure kind of getting to her?
Yeah, she's had a dream about me winning this tournament since the start of the tour, and I hope I can make it come true for her.
Did she say how big a game you're going to shoot?
No, she didn't say that.
All right, good luck in the final match, Larry. Back to you, Chris.
All right. Big shot now, 6-10 on the left lane. Lightfoot, cross lane, covers it. 20-year-old Randy Lightfoot. Stepping up is 26-year-old Mark Roth. He's a 6-footer, 180 pounds, average 222 to get into the final 5, finishing second behind the man Bo just talked to, Larry Laub. And a 3-bagger by the bowler of the year. 1 pin now. He's 1 down. Can change that here as he moves to the left lane, shooting in the 6th frame of the semifinal game. So the 4-7, the young man that has won $43,490 this year.
The fast 4-7. Mark just cranked it up a little too much. The ball snapping at the last minute. 2-pin going right over the 4 and the 7.
Mark, who wastes very little time, marking with a spare in the 6th. Up by 3, Lightfoot. Spare up, shooting in the 6th frame. Semifinal game.
The key thing is for Lightfoot not to panic. Right now he's keeping that ball around the pocket. The thing that costs you more matches when the lanes are a little tough is that when you start getting wild, such as Holman did, you give the opponent an opening. If you keep the ball in play around the pocket, such as Randy just did that frame, you make the other player take the match instead of beating yourself.
Spare in the 6th for Randy Lightfoot. And Nelson, in your Professional Bowlers Association membership, like on the professional golf tour, you have rabbits that have to do that pre-tournament qualifying.
Chris, almost every tournament on the winter tour, we have rabbits qualifiers. Randy Lightfoot is one of the rabbits that had to qualify before almost every tournament. If he can win the tournament, he would get a one-year exemption.
Hey, the seventh frame is 128 through the sixth with a strike up.
The important thing of that shot was to keep the pressure on Roth.
Going to have a pause here in our semifinal game, but more action after this.
America's popular small car Ford Pinto versus Japan's two best sellers.
Hello, I'm Jackie Stewart at Indianapolis. Which car performed best? Let's find out. In a truck passing test, a 78 Ford Pinto moved out and passed, quicker than a Datsun B210. Quicker than Toyota Corolla. And Pinto Pony sticker prices start as low as this. Check out all the Pintos at your local Ford dealer. Another better idea? From Ford.
In the tropics, where we blend Dutch Master cigars, our master blender, Augusto Santiago, meets the tobacco personally. Before he accepts, he tastes it 3 times. First with his nose, then with his touch. Then he wraps a leaf around the cigar and tastes it with his taste. That's why a Dutch Masters like our Panatella is worth more. There really are masters at Dutch Masters.
Next, Duke University clashes with Wake Forest for the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship live on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
And here's a shot of one of the fine Duke players. He's all Atlantic Coast Conference center, Mike Jaminski. You'll see him and his teammates as they go after Wake Forest in the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship game live from Greensboro, North Carolina. And what a conference. Every Atlantic Coast Conference team has a winning record this season.
Here's a man who has a winning record all year, has not lost a game on national television.
A 10 on the right lane for Mark Roth.
A discouraging 10, the solid 10. He was trailing by 2 pins. Now he drops to 3 pins behind. Now watch this ball, the good, powerful action of Roth. Notice the most important thing is how close the ball comes to his leg as he comes through. The high backswing generates a lot of speed, but notice the deep knee bend. Now solid, real close, almost hitting the elbow with the big turn.
In a very, very tight semifinal game, Mark Roth marking with a spare. And if you joined us late in the first game, Marshall Holman defeated Tim Harahan 190 to 182. Then Randy Lightfoot, Roth's opponent here in this game, at 242 to 188.
Important that Mark get a strike here to keep some pressure on Lightfoot. Lightfoot with a strike working would have a free shot at him.
And that strike in the 8th frame gives Mark Roth 145 through the 7th.
The powerful shot of Mark Roth. Watch the pins just dissolve. The ball hitting the 1, 3, 5, and 9. But notice there's not much deflection. That ball ended up behind the 8 pin. Most players' ball ends up behind the 9 pin. Lightfoot with a chance to extend his lead to 13.
And the 20-year-old who's very proud of his American Indian Cherokee heritage, Randy Lightfoot.
You know, all these players are showing the pressure out here, Chris, but I don't know if Randy is even paying attention to it. He's never been in this position before, and he's just bowling for fun right now. 30,000 might be secondary to him. Right now he has a chance to really put Roth on the ropes and take a 23-pin lead with just 2 frames to go.
All but the 7. Mark Roth's reaction.
Lightfoot threw 2 pins at it. He blew the head pin over the sideboard, just went by the 7 pin, and then the 5 did not quite get it. Lightfoot with a spare here will be working at a 2:17 pace. Roth is working at a 2:05 pace. Roth will have to start striking in the 9th.
All right, that's a spare for Lightfoot in the 9th frame as we pause 5 seconds to allow our local stations to identify themselves.
This is Channel 7, KABC TV, Los Angeles.
Mark Roth is up in this next to last match. The final game coming up, 30,000 to the winner, 17 to the loser. Ten pin.
Week 10, and what an important shot that was. Right now, Roth, the best he can bowl if he spares and gets 3 strikes in the 10th, 11th, and 12th, is 215. Lightfoot is on a 217 pace. He does not even need another strike to win this match, even if Roth forces him to strike out. Even if Roth strikes out. Mark Roth, 165 through the 8th, spare in the 9th. The best he can do, 215. As you can see, Lightfoot, 177 through the 8th, is working at a 217 pace. It is important for Roth to get at least a strike here on the first ball. That would force Lightfoot to mark.
He looks down, and this time Lightfoot did not watch his opponent, Mark Roth. Hit everything but the 10.
The situation is this. Right now, Roth, the best he can shoot is 204. Lightfoot, all he would need is 9 on his first ball in the 10th frame and would have the match locked up. He does not even have to mark if he can get 9 on his first ball. Although this might look like just a secondary shot, 204 is important to Roth in that it makes Lightfoot get a good count. You know, if Lightfoot gets 7 or 8, he can still lose the match. Roth, it's important for Roth to get another strike to maintain that count.
So it's a 204 for Mark Roth here in our semifinal game.
Lightfoot needs a mark of any type, even if he gets a 5 count or 4 count, as long as he makes a spare and comes back with another count. But he needs at least 9 or a mark. 9 pins on the first ball locks up the match.
Oh, jubilant Randy Lightfoot. 197 through the 9th. And he has some fans here. And Randy Lightfoot, the 20-year-old from St. Charles, Missouri, has a chance at $30,000. Least he could get in the next game will be 17 grand against Larry Laub. That match coming up.
Where can you find someone to service all the parts of your car with the know-how and equipment to check wheels, brakes, engine, suspension, almost everything? Someone who'll give you a written estimate and fix only what you want fixed. Firestone Car Service. That's where. 24,000 Firestone Car Service bays are waiting to serve you. For this week's specials, check your newspaper.
Punch in your name, you're ready to bowl. Punch in your name and let 'em roll. No papers and pencils, no more with AMF Magic Score. It tells you when to bowl and where. Lights up when you make that spare. No adding up numbers, no more with AMF Magic Score. So bring the whole family in. They'll have a ball just knocking down pins. Never bowl without it, no more. Bowling's more fun with Magic Score. You knock 'em down, Magic Score adds 'em up. Magic Score from AMF.
Monday. Watch out for Roy Scheider in the 7-Up.
It should start every morning, be comfortable, be economical. That's a smart buy.
You asked for it. The 78 Toyota Corolla 2-door sedan. The smart money's on this Toyota. Sensational gas mileage that you wouldn't expect in anything so comfortable and smartly engineered. With a fully transistorized ignition for dependability. If you can find a better-built small car than Toyota, buy it.
Here's a car as smart as me.
You asked for it, you got it, Toyota. Champagne, it's something else. Got to please yourself.
Get away from the ordinary. Go Champagne. Champagne tastes like a light, bubbly wine. Something like champagne without the high price tag. For unexpected satisfaction, share a Champagne with someone you like.
Champagne, it's something else.
Champagne, the sparkling malt liquor from Iroquois Brands.
Elizabeth Taylor and Lawrence Harvey, 11:30 tonight.
We'll be going back to the bowling in just a moment. We also are going to keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of sports today. And as Chris mentioned, in college basketball this afternoon, top-ranked Kentucky got 26 points from Rick Roby and 24 from Jack Givens en route to a 92-70 win over Nevada at Las Vegas. The win was the 24th in 26 starts for Joe Hall's club. Elsewhere in college basketball, St. John's has won a spot in the NCAA tournament, which begins on Saturday by beating Army 65-63. Gary Whitten had 25 points for Army. That was high for the game. Hockey score. Boston has forged a tie in the NHL's Adams division by beating Buffalo 7-3, but the Bruins have 3 games in hand over Buffalo. Well, until this week's World Cup competition at Stratton Mountain, Vermont, America's Steve Mayer's best finish in any race this season was 14th. But today, Steve Mayer won both slalom runs to take his first World Cup race ever. Yesterday, his twin brother Phil, second in overall competition, won the giant slalom. Today, Phil fell on the course for only the second time this season, and he was out of it. Second today was Ingemar Stenmark of Sweden. This finish clinched the overall World Cup slalom competition for Stenmark. But a couple of outstanding performances by the two Mayer twins. Okay, let's go back to Chris.
Thank you, Frank. The amazing Randy Lightfoot defeating Mark Roth 224-204. Roth getting a check for $10,000. And the 20-year-old now goes in to a game that has a total amount of money of $47,000 against the tournament leader, 34-year-old Larry Laub. This is it. 30 to the winner, 17 to the loser. All but the 10 on the left lane, Larry Laub.
To even more set the stage for this match, Chris, Larry Laub believes he can win. Randy Lightfoot, I don't even know if he dreamt of bowling for the title match. One other thing, Randy Lightfoot is not eligible for the Firestone Tournament Champions. It is worth $31,000 to him because you're guaranteed at least $1,000 last at the Firestone.
Okay, that's a spare for our tournament leader in our final match against this young man, Randy Lightfoot.
Has to maintain the pace, keep the pressure on the top opponents.
And under intense pressure, opens with a strike. A young man that's averaging .233 is Eddie Elias, founder of the PBA, and Chris Schoenleb, Group Vice President of Marketing, and Ron Sherman, President of J. Walter Thompson East, watching there.
And next to Chris Schoenleb, one of the great bowling fans here in Miami, his wife, Joanne. Been out here watching the tournament all week.
Whoa! Boy, there is an important double for Lightfoot against Laub, who marked with a spare in the first frame, now shooting in the second, final head-to-head match. Let's get a profile look at that last stroke by Laub.
Probably the best arm swing in the game of bowling today. The good solid push away. The trajectory of his arm swing, absolutely locked elbow, everything nice, compact. Look at how that elbow is locked at the point of release. Straight follow through towards the target.
Oh, and the mark of a champion. Laub answering back in an even match now with that double, getting his second strike in the third frame. Lightfoot opened with a double, now shooting in the third.
This is a key frame for Lightfoot right here. If he can maintain the pressure that Laub's already put on him after opening with a double, he has to keep the pressure on Laub.
Didn't quite come into that 1-3 pocket on the right lane.
Got a great break by breaking down the bucket. It could have been the 2-4-5-8, which is no gimme on these lanes. Mr. and Mrs. Carl Lightfoot. They travel with his son out here in a motorhome on a tour. Carl is retired.
All right, 2 strikes and a spare for Randy Lightfoot in this final match, championship match.
And it's all even.
All but the 10. Our ninth stop on the tour. Next week we go to Greensboro, North Carolina, 3:30 Eastern and Pacific, 2:30 Central for the BPAA, $100,000 United States Open.
And then to my own hometown, Chris, the $100,000 Royds Open at Dick Weber's Bowling Center in Florissant, Missouri.
Followed by the $100,000 Miller High Life Open from Milwaukee on March 25th. Okay. one, make it 2 pins separating these two professionals in the final game. Final game.
When you order a beer, do like Smoking Joe. Order light beer from Miller and say no more. It's got the third less calories than the regular beer. Light tastes great, y'all, but listen here. It's not the thing that makes me shout. Light's less filling, hey, that really knocks me out.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
Who's got the best cheeseburger in the whole wide world? Burger King and I.
The double cheeseburger at Burger King. A quarter pound of beef, 2 big slices of savory cheese.
It's a double beef cheeseburger, a quarter pound of meat. Lots and lots of tasty cheese, it really can't be beat.
Our double cheeseburger.
Who's got the best cheeseburger in the whole wide world? Burger King and I.
Terrific final match, and we look forward to next week as Johnny Petraglia will defend his title in the $100,000 BPA United States Open live from Greensboro, North Carolina. That's 3:30 Eastern Pacific, 2:30 Central. And right here on ABC from Greensboro, North Carolina, a little later, live coverage of the championship game of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Duke, the Blue Devils versus Wake Forest. Pam Laub watching her husband, Larry, now with a double up.
And what a key shot that was. That really puts the pressure on Lightfoot. For the first time today, Randy Lightfoot's going to be behind in a match, and he could be behind as much as 20 pins if Laub can get one more strike in the 5th frame. He's got a spare and a turkey working, leading by 12.
Here's a show of the concentration by the Californian. No.
The first time somebody really had a chance to push Randy Lightfoot, Laub goes right in the nose, 3-10 split. Now, he just threw this ball a little slow. The good swing. Now, look at that nice swing, how it comes straight through with Laub. The nice little turn at the end between the 3rd and 4th arrow. But he left the 3-10 split.
Ah, it converts it. Second beautiful conversion we've had here in our live coverage of the $150,000 Burger King Open as we replay it.
From the extreme left side, Laub letting the ball slide across the center of the lane, going against the green so the ball doesn't break too sharply, knocking out the 3-10.
Ah, with a spare up. Lightfoot, who has won 2 games, is here in the final now with a strike in the 5th frame. 10 pins down at the moment. He can change that, though, if he can double here.
Lightfoot just threw his best ball of the day. He put it all together, the big loft, the big turn, no emotion, but he knew he had it. He really put it back on Larry Laub. That is great match play and great bowling. All even.
6th frame for Larry Laub, the tournament leader. Leaving the 4-7.
You know, Chris, Larry Laub has been the hottest player in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but he struggled earlier in the year, and I asked him what has made the difference.
Well, earlier in the year, I was hitting the pocket real well when I wasn't carrying, so I started trying to turn the ball a little later. Like a couple years ago, I started turning the ball too soon, and that's why I went into a slump, and now I'm trying to turn it later. I'm getting more carry action, and consequently, I'm getting more confidence, and I'm starting to bowl real good now.
Chris, what he means by turning the ball later is later in his swing. You know, as a player releases the ball out in front of him, a player has a tendency sometimes to turn it when the ball is by his leg or even behind his back a little bit. It kills the roll on the ball. The later you can turn it, that last split second, it will help your carry. That's what Mark Ross is so great at. Larry Laub seems to have that release down now, too. The very late turn adds the nice smooth power.
And Laub with a spare up, striking in the 7th frame of this final game for $30,000 to the winner. This is live coverage from Don Carter's Kendall Lanes. Beautiful establishment, and Don, of course, is in attendance. There he is, speaking of a great champion, and his wife Paula. And there's Mom Carter, one of my favorite females of all time. Look at a three-bagger. The
Randy
20-year-old.
Lightfoot bowling for $30,000 really has Lob on the ropes. With a strike here in the 8th frame, he could take a commanding 22-pin lead.
No titles. 3rd year as a PBA member. Overall, he's earned $12,003.
Taking a little extra time. He wanted to remember, Chris, we've said each player gets one re-rack if he wants it. Randy has now settled down. He's got his continence about him, and he needs this strike. Leading by 12, really put the pressure on Lob. Lob will not fold under the pressure. It's up to Lightfoot to take the match from him.
Again, lofting it out on the lanes, and a powerful 4th in a row for Lightfoot.
It's amazing how the big money has brought out the big scores. Nobody could hardly shoot 200 in the first 2 matches. All of a sudden, Lightfoot's really putting it together. Lob is far from out of it, though.
Oh, boy, the 2, 4, and 10 for Laub, the tournament leader.
It looks like the experienced player is feeling the pressure more than the inexperienced player. Sometimes ignorance is a little bliss. Randy Lightfoot just wants to win. He doesn't care if it's 3,000 or 30,000. I think Lob is thinking of the big bread. Still can make it, though. It's the same shot that Lightfoot made earlier. What a disastrous open. Larry Lob, right now, the best he can bowl is 222. Lightfoot is already on a 238 pace. Lob, for any chance at all, would have to strike out here.
And here's the 9th frame shot.
Coming up in the 9th frame, if Randy Lightfoot throws a strike on this ball, he knocks Sal Borgione out of the Tournament Champions. He gets himself a spot and $30,000. That will buy a lot of whoppers.
There it is. Woohoo! A young man that had come up with 3 victories against, well, listen to the names: Marshall Holman, Mark Ruff, Larry Laub.
He went through some of the greatest names in the game of bowling today. It's all secondary. It's all a victory lap right now. He can bowl 268, but he has the match well in hand.
The high hit leaving the 3-9.
Only second poor shot he's made today under very difficult conditions, and he did it when the pressure was off. For the big bread, for the title, for the 3 solid games, an hour and 15 minutes of bowling, Randy Lightfoot performed as good as any bowler in the world today.
All right. Well, once again, renewing that great tradition of bowlers from Missouri. Nelson.
Renewing it is right. I have to say that Weber and myself are not holding up our end. My little brother and Randy Lightfoot are doing the best job. And there's a proud man, Mr. Carl Lightfoot. I'll tell you, Chris, one of the most likable fellows you'd ever see, and his son is too.
A 246 to go along with a 233 average in the games against Holman and Roth. Oh. And he is eligible for the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Larry Laub strokes off to the right. A man shaking his head with a great deal of admiration and applauding Lightfoot was Marshall Holman.
Well, I'll tell you, Marshall can appreciate what Lightfoot has done. He has bowled sensationally well. None of the other players have anything to be ashamed about. They're great champions. They'll be back. Laub may have to just wait one more week for that win. 202 is the best he can do. There's Marshall Holman gathering around. You know, Chris, it's really nice to see a young player like Lightfoot bowl that well. And if you just knew how nice his parents are, it's so refreshing to see a young gentleman like him and his wonderful parents out here on the tour rooting their son home. What a thrill it has to be for them.
And 246 to 202. A 44-pin victory by a 20-year-old. And Marshall Holman is the first to congratulate Randy Lightfoot, the Burger King Open champion.
I like pickles, but they don't like me.
Send your stomach some Digel.
I like pizza, but it doesn't like me.
Send your stomach some Digel.
Digel's special combination of antacid and anti-gas ingredients gives you fast, gentle relief from acid indigestion, heartburn, and gas in just minutes.
I like hot dogs, but they don't like me.
Send your stomach some Digel.
Inside this new Firestone radial tire is an improved steel cord with 5 million miles of developmental testing. Where once we used 5 strands, we now use 10 strands of steel. 7 around 2, wrapped by 1. A cord construction so important, Firestone named the tire for it. 7, 2, 1. The new steel-belted radial 721. Now, from Firestone.
Next, Duke University clashes with Wake Forest for the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship live on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
We'll be right back to the bowling, but first of all, in tennis this afternoon, Jimmy Connors has reached the finals of the National Indoor Tennis Tournament in Memphis, Tennessee. He had a 7-5, 6-3 win over Spain's Jose Higueras. He'll meet the winner of tonight's match between America's Sandy Mayer and Tim Gullickson, so there will be an All-American final tomorrow afternoon. In ladies golf, America's Debbie Austin seems well on her way to winning the Australian Open. After 36 holes, she has a 7-shot lead over Donna Capone-Young. Austin 8 strokes under par at 140. Young 1 stroke under at 147. Don't forget, coming up shortly, the Atlantic Coast Conference Basketball Championship. It'll be Wake Forest against Duke. Okay, let's return to Chris Schenkel. He's with the bowlers down in Miami. Take it away, Chris.
Well, I'm sure all of you at home, along with those at Don Carter's Kendall Lanes, would like to applaud a 20-year-older that, well, you'd have to call a lot of guts and a lot of skill. Randy Lightfoot.
Thank you, Chris.
Mom and Dad are over here. Come here. Mr. and Mrs. Lightfoot, come over here. Has to be one of your big days, of course, having this young man, bring him into the world.
Oh, and this is just great. I just don't know what to say. Just couldn't believe it.
Did you keep Carl calmed down?
Not too good.
No, not very well.
How did you, well, you met 3 kings. You realize that. Boy, you had Marshall Holman, and you had Mark Roth, and then another great champion, Larry Larb.
Well, I knew that one lane was hooking more, and I figured if I could get lined in on that maybe the other guys coming up would have trouble. Marshall was the toughest guy. Once I got past him, I gained confidence.
All right. There's a man off to your right, friend of ours, Chris Schunleb, Vice President of Marketing, Burger King, that has the king with him and a huge check. So you're going to have to come over this way a little bit, Chris. This is Chris Schunleb.
Well, we're very, very proud to have you as our winner in our whopper of a tournament. We we have over 2,000 Burger King restaurants in which you'll be very welcome in the coming weeks. And I would certainly like to congratulate you on behalf of all of those people and on behalf of the Kendall Lanes for just being a whopper of a champion and a whopper of a tournament.
Thank you very much.
Do you realize how many Whoppers that will buy?
No, I don't. I don't have any idea.
What are your plans with $30,000?
I don't think I'll buy any Whoppers with it. I think I'm going to put it in the bank.
Do you recall the toughest shot of the whole tournament all week long?
No. I'd have to say that shot in the 9th was the toughest. But other than that, nothing that sticks out.
In the final game, you're 246?
No, not really.
You're getting in your mobile home now, right? And headed for Greensboro, North Carolina. And now you don't have to worry about that rabbit pre-qualifying, do you?
No, I don't. Finally got out of them. Let's see, I bowled like in 6 of them. I think I only made the 2. And, well, it didn't have a rabbit this week. I probably wouldn't have been here if we had a rabbit, but I'm glad we didn't.
Let's see, you're not of age yet. Mom, what's going to happen with the $30,000?
We'll put it in the bank for him.
You listen to your mother?
Yeah, she keeps all my money.
She's saving it for you, pal. You know that. And we just can't compliment Burger King and everybody here, Hive Domnitz, Junie Powell, Don Carter, and Chris, all of your people. It was just great the enthusiasm you have for what we feel is a great form of competition bowling.
We're most enthused about this sport, and you run a great show here, and we're most proud to be part of it.
Okay, so it's the best of luck to the part Cherokee, something to be very proud of. Randy Lightfoot and his mom and dad. Again, nice going.
Thank you.
All right, that final score, 246 to 202. Our next stop on the Pro Bowlers Tour is the $100,000 BPA United States Open, 1 week from today at 3:30 Eastern and Pacific, 2:30 Central. The executive producer of ABC Sports is Rune Arledge. Today's coverage of the Pro Bowlers Tour was produced by Rick Lasavita, directed by Jim Jeanette, technical director Bob Bernthal, associate director Pat Tuitt. Now this is Chris Schenkel along with Nelson Burton Jr. saying so long from Miami, Florida, and inviting you to stay tuned for ABC's Wide World of Sports coming up next and featuring the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship basketball game live from Greensboro, North Carolina, Duke versus Wake Forest. And then, at halftime, the Flamingo Stakes. Check the 3-year-olds as they make their way toward the Kentucky Derby to be seen here on ABC. That's today. Travel arrangements made through a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United built the largest airline in the free world around you.